Welcome to the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. There are no traffic jams along the extra mile when you're studying for your bar exam. And now your hosts, Jackson Mumey and Megan Saya from Celebration Bar Review.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 341 of the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. This is our last episode of 2020. Oh, thank goodness. What a year this has been. Megan, my co-host, is taking the week off, and we will both be back with you again next week in January to start off our new series in 2021, and looking forward to a much better year for everyone. This, of course, has been such a tough year, and if your family has been impacted in any way by COVID-19, our thoughts and prayers go out to you, and we hope for a better and more successful year health-wise for everyone. When it comes to the bar exam, of course, this was also an extraordinary year filled with so many things that went wrong and so difficult for so many people. And we've tried the last couple of weeks to highlight some of the success stories because there have been some, even in the face of the catastrophes that occurred around the bar exam world. And today's episode, to wrap up the year, we are going to share an interview that I recently conducted with a successful Georgia bar taker. Deja had taken the Georgia bar exam 4 times without success, missing on her last try by 10 points. As you're going to hear, she took the October exam and she cleared the bar by an extra 15 points, amounting to a 25-point gain in her score. It's really an extraordinary story, but the cool part, and the thing I really wanted you to stick around for, is the way that she let everyone in her world know about the good news that she passed the Georgia bar. I think you're also going to find it really interesting to see what she did to improve her scores, and her determination and really her resolve to not give up in the face of difficulties is something that I think is really not only admirable, but it's encouraging and inspiring to all of us. Now, before we get into our interview with Deja, I do want to let you know that we have a free webinar that we're doing, a training webinar. It's called Now is the Best Time to Take Your Bar Exam, Why You Should Ignore the Crowds and the Fear. I know that there's so much chatter out there about sitting out at the exam and staying away from the bar, but really the reality is exactly the opposite. And in this free training webinar, we're going to show you why that's so. We're going to share with you not only what's going on around the country in terms of the bar exam, the latest news and results, but also a strategy that we have proven to be very successful in 2020 and that we are encouraging people to follow in 2021. As I said, the webinar is free. It's going to be offered this Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern. That's 2 o'clock Pacific time. And to register, you just need to go to the link in the show notes, or you can go to celebrationbarreview.com/now, and you can register there. The training webinar will last about an hour. The last 10 or 15 minutes, I come on live to do a Q&A to answer any questions you've got about the specifics in your particular jurisdiction or what's going on or what we anticipate will happen in 2021. This is a webinar that we've had thousands of people go through in the last year, and we've gotten a nearly perfect 5-star rating from people. There's no fluff, there's no wasted time. We just get right into it and give you the information that you need. So I hope you'll join us this Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern. If you can't be with us at that particular time, go ahead and sign up anyway. You'll get the replay link so that you can watch. But if you're with us live, that's where we do the Q&A and answer all your questions. So I hope you'll be with us for that. All right, as we wrap up 2020, I wanted to end on a high note and to end with a story that I thought would inspire and encourage you. And certainly our interview with Deja did just that. So let's meet a successful Georgia bar exam student. Everybody, welcome back to Hanging Out with Successful Bar Exam Takers. We have a really interesting and I think inspiring story to tell today. I want to welcome a new member of the Georgia Bar, Deja Cagle. Hey, Deja, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. We're recording the day after Christmas, and there's a story about why we're doing the recording today, and I thought it might be good to just start with that story. You want to tell us that?
Yeah, I passed the bar exam. I took it in October of 2020, and it was virtual, so that was an experience in itself. And I found out December 14th, but I didn't tell anybody. And I was waiting until Christmas to tell my mom before I told anyone else. So social media has no idea even to this moment as to I passed the bar. And then since finding out, I've been writing handwritten letters to everybody in my village, so to speak, who has helped me get to this point. So with the post office being delayed, no one's going to get their letter until today or Monday. So I waited until Christmas so that everyone would know, and personally thank them all for helping me get to this point.
That is really remarkable. And what a great thing. I want to hear what happened when you told your mom at Christmas.
Oh my goodness. So she was really excited. She's like, "Are you kidding me?" And I was like, "No, I really did." And like the bar, Georgia bar, sent something in the mail, like a letter with the official seal and the ticket to admission. And I showed her, and she was just like, she was so loud. I was glad we lived in a house and not in an apartment, because people would have thought something was seriously wrong with her. It was fun though. It was the best thing about 2020, actually, is seeing her reaction.
That is awesome. And I think in order to give our audience a little bit of a sense of perspective on all, this was not your first try at the bars. This has been a long journey for you. You want to tell us a little bit about what's been going on over the past couple of years?
Okay, so I graduated May of 2018, and I took the exam with a study group. It was an awesome study group. I think it was like 6 of us, and everyone passed but me. And I felt like, what the heck? I knew stuff. So like, what the heck? And the reality was I was actually off by like 14 or 15 points. So I wasn't even relatively close, I guess. And so I felt, okay, let's just do it again. You wasn't working hard enough. You can work harder. You'll be fine. And so I signed up for the February one of 19, and I didn't pass that one either. I actually got a worse score. And at that point, I used another bar prep course, and it just wasn't working for me. It was too much work, and I felt like it was just work. It wasn't actually me engaging with the material. I wasn't applying the material fast enough. And so I decided with my mom actually found a Celebration bar review, and she's like, "Deja, I think this would be a better fit for you based on your learning style and based on what you need. Doing the other program a third time is just not, it doesn't make any financial sense." So I signed up for Celebration Bar, and I got the one where I could do the one-on-ones with you. And each session was for essays mostly, or MPTs. And that was helpful because not only did I do the essay and then shortly talk to you within a day or two, so I knew what I was writing and why I wrote it that way, but I also got to watch the recordings over. So I know for a fact that was really helpful. But when I found out I didn't pass the February bar of 19, by that point it's Memorial Day. And I was working a full-time job. I was doing Celebration Bar, and I felt like that was a lot. I never worked a full-time job and studied for the bar. So I took the summer 19 one, and I didn't pass that one either. And I felt, okay, whew, this is a lot, because Georgia makes you wait until dang near Halloween. And so I tried again, and February 20 was, I think, my best bar preparation ever. I don't know what was going on at that time, but I was really studying earlier and sooner. I had gone to counseling at this point, like trying to figure out what my mental blocks were. And so I felt like on top of the world. And I knew I was passing that bar exam. Like, I just knew it. I knew everything. When I took the exam, all the essays were the perfect essays I could ever ask for. And my only regret during the February 20 bar exam is that I didn't take the essays in order like you told me to. And that was it. But I knew I passed. And so May of 2020 comes around, and the pandemic is here, and I'm just like, hey, at least I have something to look forward to. I'm going to be a licensed attorney in a pandemic. No big deal. And I am 10 points short. And I don't know how great I don't know if I could pull that study routine off again. So I got really discouraged a little, because that was like the best I've ever prepared. And then this pandemic it was a unique. Everything about this pandemic, it affected my study habits. But Celebration Bar, the way the lesson is, even though the pandemic was happening, as long as I stayed on top of my syllabus, I felt like I was still engaging with the material. from the NBE questions to the essays to the practice at the end. It didn't matter how long it took me. I didn't feel like it was a waste of my time. And so I started it again in April, because at that point I thought I was going to take the UBE because I was so confident that I was fast. But I wanted to start early anyway, get ready for the UBE. And they changed the bar exam from July to September. And I said, okay, I got more time, because at this point I know I didn't pass Georgia, and I know I'm not taking the UBE at this point. I'm like, I got plenty of time before my job starts, because I work at an elementary school. And so I was like, I got plenty of time. I have school only being for a month, and by then I'll be well within the syllabus. And then they changed it to October, and they changed it to 3 essays instead of 4. And they changed it from 45 minutes to 30. What? No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. This 30 minutes, that was the part that just, it made me want to use it as an excuse as to why I wasn't going to be successful. But the way I was taught how to write the essays made me realize I could still do it in 30 minutes. And so I did it. And here I am now, past the bar exam.
Yeah, that's a lot to unpack, Deja. So, you go through this process, you take the exam 5 times and you try different things, and it's not quite clicking, although you're getting within 10 points on that last try in February of 2020. And then with the pandemic, so much disruption, so much going on in the world, all of the stresses that I think come with it. It would have been easy to give up at that point. Why did you decide to dig in and go after it one more time? What was your thought process?
This is my dream since 1998. So since I was in 2nd grade, I've been wanting to do this. And although I've got my master's in something else and I'm working in that field right now, I'm truly I'm happy working as a librarian. Like, that's my master's. Yet, I would not be happy with myself if I did not finish what I started and live my dream when I am only 1 test away from living my dream. And I told myself, I will take this exam for as long as it takes. But I have to if I have to change something, I'm flexible. I have to keep believing that I can do this, because no one else, even if I felt like other people were encouraging me, it didn't matter if I didn't believe in myself. And for a minute there, that October exam, I was like, I might not want to take this. But I said, you're already here. It's only a week away. And who knows?
Yeah.
Go.
And for those that don't know, the October exam in Georgia, in addition to all the things that Deja just mentioned, was an online exam. It was an open book essay exam. What challenges did that present to you to be an online test versus an in-person exam?
The pressure of making sure your computer worked. My computer for essays at some point wasn't taking the passport or something to that extent. And I had to get on ExamSoft with thousands of other people on the same day, trying to get through customer service. That was a stress. Versus on test day, you just raise your hand, someone comes and you're done. But this was stressful. I was only on the phone for probably 12 minutes, but there was long 12 minutes. And mentally, it was a lot. Another thing that's different is, even though it was open book, you told me not to bring the real book and just have your mind maps, which was very smart. But I didn't even use them. They want to get stuck in the flipping of things. And so I studied like it was a real in-person exam. And on day of the exam, I used the notes probably on 1 essay, because I just I know where this is. So I used it. But on the other stuff, I used what was in my brain, because I knew looking it up and reading it and trying to type it was going to take time, and you only have 30 minutes. But okay, you guys, I'm sorry. Georgia actually gave us real essays that were 45 to an hour length essays, especially the last one. it asked 7 different call of the questions. And I thought that was rude in my personal opinion, but I passed. But it was extremely long for 30 minutes. I didn't think they considered the fact that we were taking them in 30 minutes.
Yeah, and we got that feedback all across the country from people about particularly the third question in Georgia's exam. It was a very challenging question. And so it's even more a credit to everybody that passed and got through it. You had to do a performance test as well online, right?
Yeah. And that for the future people who are taking it in February, I can tell you that you cannot copy and paste from the MPT to your notes section. And you can't highlight. I'm almost certain you can't highlight on the MPT either. So unlike in the essays, they had the essay in a body of the exam. For MPT, they have it in a file. And unlike an essay where you can highlight, you cannot highlight at all in the file. So you almost had to just transcript it over to your notes section, and then you can copy, paste from your essay, which I thought was a very big disadvantage because the file and the library are huge. And if you can't at least highlight sections, that means you really only get to read at that time and put it in your notes section. So I would advise people to get used to typing it in some kind of note section as a practice, unless they change that where you can come back and highlight, but they didn't let us highlight it at all. So I didn't like that.
Yeah, it was very challenging for sure. And then you had 100 multiple choice questions instead of a full MBE. Did you like that? Was it better to have fewer questions? Not as good? What do you think?
I've been getting really good at MBEs. That was my weakest area. And with Celebration Bar, where you do your questions, then the answers right after, that helped because when I was doing them before where I did a whole 20 and then have to look them up later, even if I did it right after, I don't remember what my real thinking was because I did so many for that specific question. But Celebration Bar, by putting the answer right after the question, I know, okay, I picked that answer for this reason, but they're saying that this is the real reason. Or I picked the right answer, but I was reasoning it wrong according to the explanation. So I liked MPEs. So having it down to 100, it was an advantage for me, but I still had some little doubts because I said, Deja, you ain't got another 100. That intuition that she was telling us about, that really kicked in and it kept me from wanting to change my answers. I didn't change my answers hardly at all.
Good. When you took the exam in February of 2020, you had a 260. What did you end up getting on the October exam?
275.
15-point increase. So now I think the real question, I think what people really want to know is, how did you keep that to yourself for more than a week, 2 weeks almost?
I kept it to myself because I was writing thank you cards to everyone who I would have called. So that kind of helped. I'll say I didn't start writing thank you cards until maybe 2 days in. When I found out by myself, I said, God and me are the only ones really on this journey. And so I opened it up by myself. I didn't want to open it with anyone else because it's just a time for me to be with God, however the results have been. And I've been opening them all like that since the first one I opened up with my mom, but all the other ones I've opened up by myself for that reason. And so after 2 days of just thanking God and reflecting on that, I started writing thank you cards to thank the people, in addition to God, for supporting me, whether they supported me during these last 2 years of retaking the exam, or they supported me in high school and put me on the path of what school I should go to, or encouraged me to stay in school. I've been thanking all these people. So that's how I didn't have to call them because I was telling them in my own way, in a more intimate way than just posting it on social media. Not saying that people who post on social media are wrong, because I totally wanted to do that. I've been thinking of how am I going to do this? But the thank you cards just came up in my mind this time, because I guess the pandemic and not too many good things come in the mail anymore.
Yeah, I've been doing this a long time. I don't know that I've ever heard anyone approach it quite the way that you did in terms of post results, but I think it's probably one of the coolest things I've ever seen or heard about. And of course, we knew you had passed. And so it was like pinky swear to silence for a while. So we did that. So I'm really excited that we could now start to tell your story. And this interview will inspire a lot of people. What suggestions or advice would you give somebody who's struggling with the bar exam, has maybe taken it a few times and not been successful? What would you tell them now, looking back on your experience?
So many things to tell them. Just remember why you started. And I'm not sure if their 1L year was frustrating or hard, or at points where they thought they would quit during their first year. But all those first year feelings that you feel during bar prep because you didn't pass, remember that there was a 2L year and there was a 3L year, which means you were sufficient enough to pass. And know that you're fully capable, because you are very capable. But the things to do, I will say the things that I know I needed to do was make sure I'm around people who care about me, who genuinely care about me. I stopped telling people that I'm taking the bar exam because they kept asking when the results are. And people are very impatient. You could take the February bar and March 1st, they're asking you, so when do you get your results? And I just told people, I don't get my results until June. I know I got them in May, but I told them June. And that was far enough for them to hopefully forget, or far enough for them to not ask me until summertime. And I'll know the answer by then. But I stopped telling people I took the bar exam. I stopped being so hard on myself. On days where I thought I was going to get 5 things done in a day, if I got 2 things done, I said, hey, you actually got something done today. So let's move forward and just keep moving forward versus beating myself up over those 3 things. And then tomorrow it's that much harder because I'm telling myself, oh, you could have had this done yesterday. You could have had this done yesterday. Versus just saying, I'm glad I'm awake, alive, and sitting still to do this MPT, because these 90 minutes could have been in a movie, and instead I'm doing this MPT. So being more forgiving.
Yeah, that's great advice. One of the things I really enjoyed about working with you, Deja, was the way that you kept your attitude up and positive and working and determined. And I think if somebody were to ask me how to describe you, I would say determined. You just weren't going to give up. And when I first met you, you were handwriting your exams and you were struggling a little bit. There were some real challenges there for you, and you just refused to give up. You were going to get better, and you would send your work in. We'd talk about it, and I was tough on you. I pushed you, but you were like, okay, I can do that. And then you come back and you keep working and keep working. And I think sometimes that's what it takes, is that determination to not give up. When it feels like everything's going against you, that's the moment that you have to just dig in and say, I can make it happen. And to be successful on this very unusual October 2020 exam is a real accomplishment. So few people who are repeating pass the exam, and in an incredibly tough year for everything, for the pandemic and social justice and the bar exam, to be successful must be just an extraordinary feeling for you.
It is one where I can say, again, that God is with me and that I won't say that I didn't do my best, but I know for a fact that God is definitely the person, the being that helped me get through this year and this pandemic, because that exam was not easy at all. It was not a traditional exam in any kind of fashion, other than I could expect the MPT, MBE questions and essays. That was the only thing that was predictable. Everything about it was unique and challenging in its own way.
I am so proud of you. I know all of us at Celebration Bar Review were very excited when we had the news, and then we had to don't say anything. So now we'll be able to tell the world as your good news comes out to everyone. And I know your story will inspire so many people. I'm really excited to see what you do as a member of the bar. I know that you've got a great career in education and as a librarian. I'm really excited to see what ways you merge these two careers and possibilities, and excited to see where you go, because I think that determination and faith that you exhibited will be incredibly valuable as a member of the bar. We are super proud of you, and we're super proud that we could be on this journey with you. And I'm very appreciative that you would share your story with our audience today. I know there are going to be a lot of people who are not only inspired, but probably crying a little bit and maybe thinking to themselves, I'm going to do that same thing with the notes when I pass. So that's awesome. Thank you so much, Deja. I really appreciate it. What a great Christmas story and a great Christmas present to offer. And we will look forward to hearing more great things from you.
I look forward to telling you.
Great. Thanks, everybody, for being with us. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
What a great story, isn't it? I hope that you enjoyed hearing Deja's story and everything that she did. And again, we want to wish her good luck and congratulations. What a great idea about how to let everybody in your world know that you passed the bar. Look forward to more people doing that as well. Just want to remind you before we sign off for today that we do have our free webinar. Now is the best time to take your bar exam. It's coming up this Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 o'clock Pacific Time. You can register by clicking on the button in the show notes on the audio or video version of today's episode, or by going to celebrationbarreview.com/now. Next week, my co-host Megan will be back with me. We'll be talking about all things bar exam related, bringing you up to date on all the news. Still waiting for California results to come in. Those will be here, we expect, in mid-January. And so we're looking forward to that. In the meantime, we wish all of you a safe and healthy New Year's and a great start as we get into what I hope will be a much better year for all of us in 2021. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week along the Extra Mile.
Thanks for listening and watching the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers at celebrationbarreview.com.